Okay, so Cashhook Bowcraft here today. What we're going to do is load some brass shotgun shells. I don't have a reloading press, so I'm going to show you guys how I reload these brass shells without a loading press. So I'm going to get the camera set up and get everything situated here, and I'll show you guys how I go about doing that. Okay, so we're set up here. These rifle shotgun shells here take large pistol primers. Some like these. I have shotgun primers on the shelf over there, and some people, they drill these out so they can put a shotgun primer in here, a 209 shotgun primer, and those work good. I've got some that I loaded with shotgun primers too, but since I have these pistol primers, I'm just going to go ahead and load them the way these things were designed to be loaded. And basically what you do, you just get one of the primers here, and you stick it in the primer cup at the end of the shell here. Just get it situated in there as best as you can. And then I just flip it over on this piece of metal here. And then I have a 1/4 inch nut driver that fits right over. I don't know if you can see it or not, but there's a little nipple in there. And you don't want to damage that thing while you're driving this primer through. And you don't want the primer to go off as you're repriming the shell. So this 1/4 inch nut driver here fits over that nipple and pushes down on the exterior portions or the interior surrounding areas of the shot shell base, and allows the primer to be seated without putting any direct pressure on the primer or the primer cup. But anyway, as soon as I get this thing in here, you just gotta kind of just stick it in there with your thumb and then set this thing over that. Get a hammer and just tap it lightly. Check it every once in a while. Until it's seated. So there you go, seated primer. I have 2 more that I did previous, and I'm going to do the rest of these shells too. So that's how you do that. And do one more. Just take the primer, stick it in the little pocket there. You could depress it in there a little bit with your thumb, just so long as it stays in there when you flip it upside down. And take your little nut driver, tap it home. Here's another one. Pretty simple to do. Now I'm going to go ahead and load these up with some shot and some powder, and I'll show you that in a sec. Okay, so we're back. What I'm going to be doing is, what I want to do is load black powder into these shells. These are going to be black powder shells that I'm going to be using in my side-by-side shotgun. But instead of black powder, I'm going to be using a black powder equivalent. I did a video earlier how to load regular shotgun shells, and I used Pyrodex, and I've still got a half a bottle left here, so I'm going to try to use up all of this stuff before I start loading it with real black powder. But all the measurements and stuff are the same as this Pyrodex, for the Pyrodex, as it is with black powder. And basically what I do, as I mentioned in the previous video with the plastic shotgun shells, is I just copy what's written on a box of modern shotgun shells, and I just copy that. So what I'm going to be doing is shooting 3 drams, which is probably equivalent to 82 grains of black powder. and 1 1/8 ounce of lead shot, and this is just regular lead shot, 7.5 inch or number 7.5 shot. And basically, what I do, I've already loaded one, but I don't have any over card and over powder wads. So what I did, I just punched out a bunch of leather wads that I'm going to be using instead of those. Also, too, when you're reloading these brass shells, the hulls are a lot thinner than the plastic shells. So you don't want to get 12 gauge wads. You want to get like 10 gauge wads. They'll fit in here a little bit better, and they won't be loose in the shell. So you want to use 10 gauge wad. Now what some people do is they'll put in some kind of glue or some filler inside the shell to bring the base of the shell up level with that little nipple that's in there, because there's a recess around that and the powder gets in there. But I've never done that. I guess I'm too lazy to do that, but these shells were not, they were designed this way, so I'm just going to use them the way they were. Some other people, like I said, put glue down there so it'll raise the floor of the base of the shell higher. But I'm just going to go ahead and load the powder just like this. This is the way they were designed, so that's how I'm going to do it. So basically what I do, I take a scoop of powder, pour it in the shell. I'll take one of my leather wads here. It's a little bit tight, but that's okay. It's better they're a little bit tight than a little bit loose. And then just pressing it down with the wooden dowel. Make sure it's down right over the powder. You don't want any spaces or anything in there. Then I'll take my 10 gauge cushion wad, push that right over the leather wad. Basically the same as loading a regular shotgun shell. And then I'll take a scoop of lead shot, pour it in over the cushion wad, and then to seal that all in, I'll finish it off with another leather over shot wad. Like I said before, you're supposed to be using, there's card made out of cardboard and stuff that you can buy, but I don't have any of that stuff, so I'm just going to use these leather wads instead. And you can see here that it's in there. And what I'm going to do later to seal these up, after I get done loading the rest of these, I'm just going to put a bead of glue around the edge of this to hold that wad in, because when you're shooting a side-by-side shotgun under recoil, you don't want this thing to come loose, over the recoil of the firing off the other round and having all your shot and powder falling out of there. So when I get these things loaded up, the rest of these loaded up, I'll show you how I put the glue in there and seal that all up. It's basically the same as the other video that I put out, but I'm going to go through the whole process in this video. So we'll be right back after I get these things loaded and show you how we seal them up. Okay, so we're back, and you can see here I've got all the shells loaded, all except for sealing. And one thing I realized, I misspoke. The cushion wads that I'm using are actually 11 gauge, not 10 gauge. The 11 gauge cushion wads fit in here almost perfectly. And you probably want to get 11 gauge over powder cards and 11 or 10 gauge overshot cards. The overshot cards tend to be a little loose, so I'd probably get a 10 gauge overshot card. But like I said earlier, what we're using now, we're just using leather. And leather works fine, you know. It's thick enough, it's strong enough. So basically what we do to seal it up is I'll just put pretty much just cover the leather wad with a thin coat of glue. You can see there. It's not very much over, it's just enough to cover the wad. You can try to get into the, just put glue on the corners or on the edges, but it's easier enough just to go ahead and just cover the whole wad. You know for sure the glue will get where it needs to go. And you don't need very much, just enough to cover it, you know. Just like that. And just let them sit, let it dry up, and then you'll be good to go. So that's it. That's how I load black powder brass shotgun shells. Pretty short video. It's not really much to it. It's pretty easy to do. Before we go any further, this is a once fired brass shotgun shell here that I already shot, and you can see there's a spent primer in there. And if you've already shot these, the way you take that primer out is I just have a piece of wood here with a hole in it, and it's hollowed out to fit the rim of the shotgun shell in that piece of wood. This is the same kit that I use when I reload plastic shotgun shells. And in that kit here, I got this large nail. And basically what you do to deprime these things is you can see that there's a little hole in that nipple there where the primer is. And you just stick your nail inside that little hole. Then you get a hammer, punch out the primer, and this shell is now deprimed. There's the primer right here. You can see it falls through that little hole and right onto the bench here. And that's how you deprime these shells so you can reload some new ones. So I forgot to put that in the video, but here you go. Cashstick Bowcraft, thanks for watching.